So can I ask the Minister a simple question? Is there gerrymandering in Singapore?
In the recent parliamentary sitting, right, Hazel from the PSP, she filed a motion to call for the government to review how the electoral boundaries are being determined. So one of the key points that was raised was gerrymandering, and is gerrymandering happening in Singapore? So they talked for about slightly over 2 hours. I'm going to show you guys a few snippets of what happened. So this was from Hazel Phua. One of the suggestions she made was she wants a state court judge to be a part of this EBRC, the Electoral Boundary Review Committee. So this is one of her suggestions, and she adds on with this.
The other members of the committee will be appointed by the President and comprise equal numbers of representatives from 1. the ruling party, and 2. the other political parties that have won at least 5% of the votes at the previous general election.
The first thing is, I just want to clarify, right? EBRC is a third party with no political affiliation, right?
Yes.
Then why would she want to introduce political affiliation to
Exactly.
a third party who is neutral? Because if that is the case, what you're trying to do here is stop gerrymandering, ma. If now a third party who is supposedly responsible of the boundaries, and there is political members inside, doesn't that open the door to gerrymandering?
Possibly.
Yeah, so the second thing, right, is what she said towards the end, it consisting of one PAP member and any opposition party with more than 5% vote.
Exactly.
So two things about that. The first thing is, which opposition party don't have more than 5% vote?
That's why. Even
Almost all, even the two also have, bro.
The L boys, his side right. That's why.
I think the taxi driver also got 5%, bro. The second thing is, if that comes to fruition, right, there will be one PAP lah, okay? And then like 5, 6, 7 opposition party.
Yep.
Then the EBRC will for sure be in favor of the opposition one.
Exactly.
And that doesn't make sense really, ma.
So it's a bit silly lah. This was how Chan Chun Sing responded.
First, the EBRC does not have access to voting information and hence does not make its recommendation based on voting patterns. The EBRC does not consult the PAP or any other political party. Party politics do not come into this exercise. The EBRC comprises senior civil servants with no party allegiance. Therefore, unlike other countries where political parties are involved in the boundary drawing process, EBRC's compositions and processes are insulated from party politics. Hence, we do not have the horse trading and gerrymandering that have taken place in other countries.
Okay, so this is how he counters the gerrymandering idea. Basically, if the committee that does the cutting of the boundaries is apolitical, they take no sides on any political matters, then it can only be neutral, politics not involved, you cannot manipulate it, it cannot be gerrymandering. Right? Now we have Jamus, the golden boy who always disappoints his voters.
So I should clarify that there are in fact two forms of gerrymandering, intentional and unintentional. Minister Chan assured this House that there is in fact no intentional gerrymandering as pursued by the EBRC. Now, even if we accept this position, it does not exclude the very real possibility that natural movements in the electorate, 200,000 in fact, as Minister Chan just shared, might inadvertently give rise to an unintentional gerrymandered outcome.
Okay, so he brings the idea of intentional and unintentional gerrymandering.
Doesn't make sense, you say. Because maybe they say they will accept that the government doesn't participate in intentional gerrymandering.
Or the EBRC.
Or the EBRC lah. And then he later on say that there might be a potential that there is unintentional gerrymandering. But I took note that his phrasing of the letter, right, is a bit more careful. He said unintentional outcome.
Yep.
What does unintentional outcome means? It means unmanipulated and natural. So if it's unmanipulated and natural, then it cannot be gerrymandering what?
Yeah.
Because
Right.
gerrymandering just is talking about the electoral barrel that has been drawn out. People moving right doesn't affect it. Yeah.
If it's
You
unintentional,
need
they
to
cannot be.
manipulate it to your advantage before it can be considered gerrymandering.
Yeah, so there's no such thing as like unintentional.
This fella playing with words. But unfortunately, not everybody caught that. So our
First point, I'm not sure I'm expert to distinguish what you refer to as intentional versus unintentional.
Minister of Education.
Okay lah,
That's all.
I think he meant what I said earlier lah. I think he meant like what he trying to say.
Yeah, that was the idea. I think he could have phrased it more pointedly to Jamus.
Rather than leave it
because especially because you know you're coming to address a motion with regards to gerrymandering, so you should very well have gotten like the definition and stuff like that. You know, the definition requires a manipulation in someone's favor. So if this guy is saying unintentional gerrymandering, you can call him out. What exactly is unintentional? If you're saying that things are happening without your knowledge, you're not manipulating it, where is the gerrymandering?
Yeah.
So you should have.
Shaminish can be the civil service MP.
Never mind, there's someone better lah. I'm gonna play this guy.
The minister said if the Electoral Boundaries Review Committee takes notice or takes note of the close electoral contest in the previous elections in its work and it takes it into account, that would be gerrymandering. So can I ask the minister a simple question? Is there gerrymandering in Singapore?
Okay, so a very good question.
Yeah.
And I'm going to play Chun Sing's response to it.
On the second point, I think I've explained the meaning of gerrymandering, what it means in other countries, and whether it applies or not applies in our context. And I'll leave it to members of the House and the public to decide.
Okay, that was how he addressed it lah.
Back to back.
Okay. Okay, firstly, he did come out before and say that his English only not very good. He's not very good at his English. So maybe his rebuttal is not that strong. Firstly, you know, Pritam is good. You see, he asked a question, he quote what he said previously. He should. Simple, clear, direct question. And I believe our Minister of Education didn't really answer it properly. But the thing is, right, when he said that, like I said before, in other countries, right, when gerrymandering do happens, right, it's because in each different location, right, there is like economic divide, racial divides, rural and urban divide as well. So, right, those countries that the government engage in gerrymandering, right, they can draw the electoral barrel, right, in their favor. For example, let's say they draw the electoral barrel, right, to this certain location, and let's say this location is mainly made up of poorer people. So they can craft their message, right, to these type of people. So in those countries, right, gerrymandering can happen. But for Singapore, right, previously you mentioned this one word is microcosm. Each different electoral barrel that is drawn out, right, represents the whole of Singapore. Like let's say Aljunied GRC, Jurong GRC, right, each of them, right, are the same. So let's say Singapore is a pie, right. No matter how you cut it, in any way you want, right, each represents Singapore the same way. There's no difference. So gerrymandering cannot happen. Yeah, a lot of people, right, like I read the YouTube comments, right, they didn't follow this train of thought. They didn't understand what he was trying to say. That's why he said, I let you guys decide, right. It's because he believed that, right, this is a watertight argument, right. It's like he have this armor, he really built out this armor already. Yeah, he don't have to deflect the arrows that, like say, Pritam, Leong Mun Wai, they all shoot. This armor, right, cannot penetrate through. That's why he say it like that.
Especially by Leong Mun Wai.
The xia sui is what people in the public has used to refer to me.
So speaking of our favorite Leong Mun Wai, this was one part of what he said lah.
We can give a parameter to the EBRC that we want the constituency to be more compact. So given that, does the minister agree that it's not just about the process that we are arguing today, it is about the outcome?
Okay, so the idea of the shape and stuff.
I think what he's trying to propose, right, is for the government to come up with a fixed shape, right, rather than like all the weird, odd shapes, right? That's his argument. But from what I know, right, EBRC, they have a certain criteria to take into consideration.
Correct.
From what I know, right, there must be a minimum number of SMCs. And second, right, I know that GRCs, right, let's say 3 people GRC, right, in that 3 people GRC, you cannot go beyond, let's say, 300,000. Of course, this number is not accurate, but you cannot go beyond that kind of population within that whole GRC itself. And one more criteria, right, is that between GRCs itself, right, you have different sizes. Some like you have 3 people GRC, some you have like 5. So let's say for that, right, the 5 people GRC cannot have less population compared to the smaller one.
Correct.
So based on all these criteria, right, you know, the suggestion seems very good, all these things, but it's not really very practical.
Especially for a strange looking map.
Yeah.
Sounds good, doesn't work.
Let's take a game of Tetris. So instead of like your usual shapes, right, we use the compact shape. Let's say we take a circle, what Leong Mun Wai wants, right? Imagine you put all the circles in, right? In between there will be a lot of holes. And in these holes, right, how are you going to fill up all the gaps? So now, right, we need those odd shapes, like your, you know, your square, your straight line, your zag, all these different hooks, right, to fill up all the holes. And when you fill up all the holes, right, you can fill up, like, you know, like the whole map in Singapore. You can fill things properly and, you know, it be flat about it.
And especially with EBRC's criteria, they have to bring into account many other things.
Yeah, because the moment you put one proper shape, let's say a beautiful diamond, then you need to make everything around it factor into this. Because you put one diamond, you put something else, put something else, right? Later on, this may not follow your criteria.
Yeah, there ought to be a gap somewhere.
Then this one change shape. Then it keeps changing. Later you got one line. Right in the middle of Singapore.
Then one straight at the end of the line. That's what you
In JB.